my happiness just exploded, basically skyrocketed after I started to be more minimalist and simplify my life. Minimalism, slow living, I think it's a very, very positive and very needed thing in our world if we look at the environment or how we are acting in general as humans to like other humans and animals and all that. I think that it's a very needed change. It's a way to create a new narrative for this of what we must be and what we have to be, or do we have to be actually anything? Can we just be whatever we are? Can we just experience this human, life, this experience we are having on this planet Earth? We are already enough. We are already perfect. We don't have to do these crazy extraordinary things in our lives to feel that we are happy and that we are exactly enough for others and for ourselves. Well, it's not something that you once, when you figure it out, you will carry with you for the rest of your life. You need these constant reminders because our society exactly is telling the opposite to us.
Welcome to the Handprints podcast, where we explore how we can increase the handprint of the positive impact we have upon ourselves and the world around us. In this episode, I'm talking with Seve, who is the founder of Sunny Kind Journey. Seve is a minimalist from Finland, and through YouTube, he inspires thousands of people to live more conscious, peaceful, and sustainable lives. So if you want to simplify your life and experience more inner peace, then this episode is for you. Thank you so much for showing me Tampere. For showing me your grandfather's garden.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, with this especially here.
And thank you for taking the time to take this interview. It's the first podcast episode ever, so it's exciting.
This is for me as well the first time ever being on a podcast, so I'm honored to be here.
We're here today to talk about slow living, minimalism, social impact, and I reached out to you because you have a beautiful YouTube channel where you discuss these topics, and I think it's so much there of inspiration for everyone. So I think we'll just jump right into it. And on your website, one of the first things that is written is from human doing to human being. Yeah. What does that mean?
That's something that I don't even know where I heard it the first time. I can't remember, but it was so powerful the first time I read it or heard it that I really want to understand this better. What does this mean? And then start to live by that as well myself. And then little by little, I started to use it more in my how I'm speaking in my everyday language as well. And then with my partner Fra, we were thinking, what should we write on our website? What are we about? And then we were like, hey, you remember that? Let's just use that. So it's exactly about stop doing constantly something, that we don't always have to be doing something, and not necessarily in our focus on this big self-improvement that we have to be better, but just realizing that we are already enough. We are already perfect. We don't have to do these crazy extraordinary things in our lives to feel that we are happy and that we are exactly enough for others and for ourselves. So yeah, that's where the idea came from.
I think it's such a nice phrase, and it's so interesting because human being is kind of the term we use for us as a species. Yeah. At the same time as that, to me, is not the norm anymore. I think the norm is what you said, human doing is what we become. Yeah. Why is that, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, it's a very long topic and conversation. Have to go into history as well. Why it has become that? I think it comes down to probably survival first. That we need to survive, and all the time we need to do something. And because of that, it became a cultural thing that we are seen as better human beings if we are more human doings, you could say. So I think it just came from that, and then challenging that has been hard as well, because if you are not doing as well as other people, as much as other people are doing, when you're comparing clearly, you are, let's say, lazier than other people in those terms, you are not seen as so good person, that you are exactly a lazy person, and that can really hurt your self-esteem, self-confidence, but it doesn't mean that you are any less than other people. So yeah, that has been a very powerful message in my life, and I like to remind myself constantly of that as well. It's not something that once, when you figure it out, you will carry with you for the rest of your life. You need these constant reminders because our society exactly is telling the opposite to us.
How did you get into minimalism and simple living?
That's as well a long story, I guess, but I've been quite frugal since I was a kid. I didn't want to buy anything like unnecessary. I always wanted to like save money rather than just have a lot of things. I always had that mindset in me. And then when I was growing up, I realized that these materialistic things and materialism in general, consumerism, it doesn't really bring happiness to me. But these experiences, what I was having, these memories that I was creating, those were so much more powerful for me, like traveling abroad and meeting new people and making these connections. Those I remembered always. But for example, the expensive sweater that I bought last year, it doesn't give me any emotions. So why should I spend time or energy, money on those things, acquiring them? So it came from this, and little by little it started. I think around 7 years ago, something like that, to come in my life, and I understood that I don't need so many things to be happy. And then I just started to get rid of them little by little. Of course, this minimalism journey or process, it doesn't happen overnight. I think for anybody, it takes many years. But for me, it was exactly in my early 20s how it started to be more and more powerful. And when I started to see those benefits, the effects really of this type of lifestyle, and how much happier it made me, and how much more gratitude I felt for those things that then I owned and the relationships that I had, then I started to create content about this as well on YouTube and share this message for others that maybe you should consider this as well.
It's kind of the society telling us always to want more, to need more. And because we hear this message from all around us, it's sometimes so internalized. So it seems to me to be difficult to kind of determine what do I want, what don't I want. What are kind of signs that we are wanting the wrong things, or that our life is more accelerated than it should be?
Yeah, I think overall, like, of course, there are the physical symptoms. If you have like really troubles to stay still, you have to be constantly moving. I think that's one sign, of course. But I think for me, at least, it was more always emotional. When I start to feel, I think overstimulation is a good word that I like to use as well. That's describing exactly what I felt and sometimes still feel if I'm not focusing on this enough. That I just have to keep going all the time. I feel this stress in my head. I'm really like stimulated, but still I feel I have to keep going. I have to keep doing this. And many times in those moments when I feel that, okay, now I have this feeling that I must keep going, that's a sign that I shouldn't keep going. I should go the opposite direction in those moments when I feel that you cannot stop, you have to keep pushing. No, that means go the opposite direction and a little bit slow down. So I think it's very important that you understand yourself better, your physical reactions, how emotional it is, and then go from there. I think it's very personal as well. Like I, for example, don't feel much stress in my life. I don't really know how exactly stress feels like even. It's because I can push through all those things. It doesn't mean that it's smart or I should, but I can. So does that mean that I have stress, and when does it come from? I don't really know, but there are certain things I know in my own like thought patterns and how I'm feeling that then I should just slow down.
Mm-hmm. What's the relationship between minimalism, slow living, and happiness?
I think those are very connected. That's my opinion. Especially if you come from countries like ours, like in Europe or US, where you don't have a lot of that slow living. It's a lot about like fast living, I would say, and not a lot of minimalism. It's a lot about consumerism. I think this is exactly like good antidote for those, that you try to balance them, because I believe that happiness comes, or a balanced life is a happy life, and happy life means that you have balance in there. And since our society is so fast and is so materialistic right now, you need that balancing counterpart in there. And it doesn't mean that if you want to simplify your life, that you need to become a minimalist or you need to become this master slow living person forever. It just means that adding those little like things in your life, those small habits, tiny habits in your daily life, that makes you go a little bit that way and not constantly the other way. So at least for me, they made a huge change for me, that I wasn't anymore going the other direction. I started to go the other, and my happiness just like exploded, basically skyrocketed after I started to be more minimalist and simplify my life in general.
And you said it's not just about decluttering your life, having less stuff, but what are other typical kind of habits?
Yeah, I think that is one part. I think when I talk about simplifying life and minimalism, for me that's not just about my home and my possessions and decluttering those. That is one thing, of course, and that is important part, but just doing that, in my opinion, isn't enough in your life. You have to do so many other things. I think self-care habits in general are the biggest thing, like how to calm your mind, because if we are living in this fast, chaotic world, you need to find those. Otherwise, you will feel overwhelmed 24/7 all the time. So, yeah, self-care habits, meditation has been very, very important. I have practiced that for so many years now, maybe 8 years, something like that, daily meditation. I do it every morning, and walks as well, daily walks, I do those. And I always say that there's not this one size fits all version to this, that you should do this one thing. And I think that it's very personal, and that's why I always say to people as well that I can give you suggestions what you could try, but then you always have to try those and see if they work for you or if they don't, because we are all different people in different life situations. So meditation might work for me, but not for you for a reason or another, and you should do something completely different. For example, running, exercising has been is very important part for me, but I know that there are people who absolutely hate running, and that would be the opposite of mindfulness from them and like feeling good. So they want to do and should do then completely other things. But those, and then as well, as we have discussed today already, sleeping, how important sleep is. It's something that we cut back from sleeping if we need extra time, but I don't think that that's ever a wise decision. Of course, you can do it for like a day or two, but if we're talking in years that I need to focus on my career or my hobbies or whatever, and you don't sleep enough for 5 years, of course, your health is going down, your mental health is going down, your life satisfaction overall is going so much down, even if you were a minimalist and had some good other habits. That's very important.
And you also said on your website that slow living, it can fit any lifestyle. Because one thing that I'm struggling with a bit myself, I also discovered minimalism maybe 7-8 years ago as well. And in the beginning, it became the end goal for me. I got rid of all my stuff. I went way too far in that direction because it's often easier to go to the extremes than to find the balance. And then it was a huge relief for a month or 2 months, but then it kind of got back to I was equally stressed as before because nothing had changed internally. So I think it was so important for me to see minimalism as a tool, not as the end goal. So I was wondering a bit how to incorporate slow living into a lifestyle where you kind of want to manage your stress, but maybe you have lots of family obligations, you have a career, you have lots of ambition, so you kind of really want to go out there, you have to go out there and compete and to deliver. But for your health, for your happiness, you see the value of slow living. So how to kind of reconcile these two?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to, of course, your mindset first, that exactly if you make this an end goal, that you must be like that every day and you cannot be anything else. I think that a little bit goes as well against the slow living. That is about that you are already enough right now, like that mindset. So I think that is the first thing, to understand that if you would feel like you need to do this, that is the only way you can ever be happy and be satisfied with yourself, you are already starting like going in the wrong direction in that sense. Just to accept your current life situation first, that it is what it is, and that's it. If you have a job that you have to work so many hours and it's very tough for you, but you have to do it, for example, to provide for your family, then you have to do that, and that's it. And just beating yourself up for not being a slow living person in this sense, because you have to do this, it will just make the situation worse. So accepting that, and then I would say doing what you can, those tiny habits, I think that they are very important. What you do daily, and starting out with just one. That's always what I say. Don't try to change everything at the same time, or if you want to be a minimalist, declutter like 90% of your possessions or something like that. You definitely don't need to do that. Just, for example, taking 15 minutes every morning before going to work to do something to calm you down. That is something that I think everybody can do. I think it was Tony Robbins who said, I was listening to him many years ago, if you don't have 10 minutes, you don't have a life. So if you don't have the 10 minutes in your morning, like, what are you doing with your life? So having those 10 minutes just for yourself, it's a very good start. And then go from there. Understand what is giving you like good feedback, what is working for you, and then what isn't, and then make some adjustments from there. But don't think that in order to start this lifestyle, you need to become or do some amazing things and declutter a lot of your possessions, or have these monthly meditation retreats or anything like that. You don't need to do any of that. It's just maybe changing the mindset to focus on yourself. You can also help others better, and then find a couple of ways that actually work for you really well.
We work in Handprints, we work a lot with a tool that's called a happiness list, which is basically a habit tracker where you list the things that you aim to do every day for your happiness, your fulfillment, every week, every month. And then you kind of track if you did it today, more to create awareness than to create pressure. But I'm very curious to hear a bit. You mentioned a few things, sleeping, exercise, but I'm curious to hear how your happiness list would look like. What are the things you try to do every day, every week? And I'm also curious to hear your answer, because you also have a video that's called "Your Life is Not a To-Do List." I think so. Kind of how to maybe balance this to do actually to be productive in sense of working towards your own happiness, but without making that a stressor in itself. So what would your happiness look like?
Yeah, I mean, to-do list is something that I do, of course, every day. To just in my recent video now, I talked about it, how it's important to set some goals and then work on those to kind of stay on the right track. Because if we don't have any vision, any goals, we just do whatever we feel like right now, what we think is right, and then we forget what's the big picture, where we are going towards. So that's why I think it's important to have to-do list, but not think that they are some sort of religion, that we have to follow this no matter what and we have to get this done. So it's more like a guideline what I should do today. So that's something that I guess it's related to happiness, like to stay on track. Even though it can be a little bit controversial, as I mentioned in that video. Some other things I do is I take a lot of pauses, a lot of breaks. Like in school, we have this recess. I talked in that video exactly this. We have these 10-15 minute breaks between classes. When you are an adult, you don't have those ever, especially if you work at home. Well, now you're a content creator, entrepreneur, you don't have any breaks. Nobody's telling there that, okay, hey, maybe you have been working a little bit too much now, go outside, have a walk and take a breather. Nobody's telling you that. So you have to understand that yourself, and it's a skill as well. One of those things that you can every day, and what I do every day, I take multiple walks every day, and just time off from what I was doing completely. Close my eyes, go to the sofa, and just try to empty my mind, have a little meditation there. So that's something. What else? Of course, when it comes to diet, being a vegan, eating plant-based, that's something important, but I guess that will be covered in other videos more, so I don't have to go too much into that. Social interactions, very important, especially as mentioned, if you're working from home like I am. It's very important to have those after the workday, or if you cannot have those during. So I aim to meet people every day and just have moments. Even I can give a phone call, like we can talk about something, because I believe that for happiness, social human connections are, if not the most important, at least one of the most important, like key aspects of that. And in our world, a lot of people are lonely, and that's just a pity, because there are so many lonely people. And if they could just be together, if we could find a way to get them together, there would be so much less loneliness. And that's something that I do try to do then every day, is to connect with people that I know and I love, and also make new connections like we are doing exactly right now. I want to say yes to these new opportunities so that I can meet new, amazing, like-minded human beings.
It makes so much sense. I came to Finland a few days ago, and I'm doing what I love the most, which is hiking in nature, and I thought it would be amazing, but I also felt quite lonely as well. And I think this is really speaks to what you're saying, that it's all about the balance in a way. It's so easy to think I love doing this and then go all in on this. There's been times where I've been fantasizing about spending a month in nature, then I would be happy. But when I spend a month in nature, then I miss social connections, or I miss working with something, and like this kind of and I think this is very much key, to incorporate a bit of what makes you happy into every day, because it creates a healthy balance. Yeah. And social or slow living, minimalism, it has a very obvious impact on our footprint in terms of consuming less. But I was wondering a bit what kind of impact it has on our handprint, which is the opposite of our footprint, but kind of not just making the world less worse with our existence, but having a positive handprint, having a positive impact on the world, both people around us, the world itself. How do you see slow living as kind of a tool of bringing about social change?
I think it's a way to create like a new narrative for this, of what we must be and what we have to be, or do we have to be actually anything? Can we just be whatever we are? Can we just experience this human, life, this experience we are having on this planet Earth, however we want to, or should we just follow all these social expectations that are set when we are already born? When we are born into this world, we have to be a certain way. So I use it a lot myself to challenge these norms, and that's why I also like to have these conversations that are sometimes a little bit difficult, but I see that I bring a new, like, fresh perspective many times to this conversation, especially if we're talking about career or work or physical possessions that you have, and obligations, responsibilities. How actually you can live with quite few. You don't have to own that much, and you don't have to do so much to have a happy life. And why I like this is because I believe to be somewhat of an example as well for other people in this, and that's why I like to be a content creator, that I can share my own story and inspire other people to do this. I think it has a minimalism, slow living. I think it's a very, very positive and very needed thing in our world, if we look at the environment, or how we are acting in general as humans to like other humans and animals and all that. I think that it's a very needed change, and I'm very, very happy to be part of this as well.
And do you have any thoughts on how we could turn this into a structural change? Because now it seems to me a bit like the people who discover slow living, because it's outside of the norm, it's the people who have certain experiences in life or certain encounters, which sets them onto that path, which means that many people are never even going to have that, even know where to start on that path. What kind of role could society, school, how could we kind of implement this to make it accessible for everyone as a choice, but then at least it's a possibility.
Yeah, I think it's something that we should definitely talk about more, like this, all these topics, and we should have group conversations. I don't know if the like governments or schools or anything like that can really do much about this. I think it's more accepting everybody, like whatever they are. I think that's already like that's the base for this thing, and I think Nordic countries are doing a good job, very good job with this. But then it's about creating communities. I think that is the key aspect here, that there are these slow living communities, there are minimalist communities. I believe my YouTube channel is as well one small community, and what you are creating will or probably already is a small community of people, whether it's digital or physical. And I think through these communities we can empower the people inside the community, but also other people to join the community and to spread this message all around. So it of course all comes from us, the people, and the more people that we can get to understand this and want to join the community, learn these different skills and mindset and this, I think the better. And of course not force anybody to any community. I think this is something that nobody should be forced into. Just like I don't believe with veganism that the right way is to force people to be vegan. I think in order for them to stick with it and understand the power of it, it has to be a conscious choice from them. So yeah, that's as well important.
You are a content creator. If you could create a video just speaking for 1 minute, but it would be broadcasted to the entire world, how would you spend that minute?
Probably shaking because I would be so nervous. Yeah, I think that would be about kindness, that video. Yeah, kindness and compassion. It's something that is behind my values a lot. Those are one of my core values as well. So behind this minimalism, behind this slow living is compassion to like other people, and of course the environment, the animals, all beings, I would say, to take just better care of each other. That's what I would be talking about, yes.
Which also is the name of your channel, Sunny Kind Journey, which is a very beautiful name, by the way.
Sunny means this clarity or positivity. It's about that, and kind is of course about kindness, compassion to one another, and journey, that we are never finished. It's life is a journey always, and no matter what you try to achieve or gain, it doesn't matter, because we will always be on this journey together and learning new things and becoming better people and making better choices, I think.
And the closing tradition that we're establishing today is, because you're the first, so for the next guest and for whoever is listening, I was wondering, you were talking about it's just to start somewhere, starting out with just one habit towards a more simple, happy life. So the closing tradition is to ask the one we're speaking with now to give a task to the next person and to those listening. So if you could give one task to kind of get started on a more slow, more conscious life, what would that be?
That would be about the thing that has really changed my own life, and that is just breathing. It's very simple but very effective to be more conscious of your own breath, to take 5 minutes every day to just breathe and focus on that. Nothing about what is happening in the future or tomorrow or later today, or nothing that happened yesterday or even 5 minutes ago. Be just present in this very moment and feel the air coming in and then going out for 5 minutes, and that will help to clear your mind, and therefore you can make so much better decisions in your life, in your daily whatever you are doing, and you will feel so much better. It has really transformed my life, this one simple tiny thing.
Thank you so much, Seve. It was a delight interviewing you. I really hope the sound quality and the light here doesn't ruin, because the content is fantastic. It was so nice for me to hear. I'm a bit worried when my partner Taina hears it, because you're just confirming what she's telling me all the time. Like, don't go all in on this. Minimalism is supposed to be a tool. Don't have to get rid of everything. Don't go too extreme. So she's going to love this because it has a lot of value. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. It's really been nice to be here, especially in a place where I have a lot of memories, my grandfather's garden. So thank you for inviting me.